cuts toward the elevator station, and we're going to continue down the crosscut now. See what we can find. Alright, there's some flooding up ahead. Okay, so at this point in the mine, the crosscut has intersected the vein, and you have a drift going off to the left there. That's the east drift. And then there's one to the right that you can't really see from this junction, but that down there is the left east drift, and then ahead it turns to the right and continues on to the west drift. The water in here is pretty wild looking, as you can see. So this tunnel leads to the west drift, which is the right side. We're taking a look at a collapse here. So this is the west drift, looking down the west drift there. There's a raise going up at an angle, and then a most likely crosscut there to the left. So we're going to take the west drift in a second, but first we're going to have a look up the ladder. This is just a platform to platform raise, and it goes up several levels, a few hundred feet if I remember correctly. Alright, so this is the beginning of our long journey down the west drift. This is the first look at it. You can see the tunnel's pretty large. Off to my left is a fenced area, probably an electrical area at one point, if I had to guess. You'll notice along the entire length of the west drift that the left-hand side of the tunnel is often timbered or shored. The reason for this is there is a parallel drift running almost the entire length of the main drift, and that parallel drift is what actually accesses the stopes above us. So you can see there's no stopes in the tunnel that we're walking in now, but if we were to look at the tunnel to the left here, you'd see the stopes up above. So we've just made our way through a tight collapse. You can see that's back where we came from, and now we're looking up at the collapse itself. So a huge collapse. It almost took out the entire tunnel, but we were able to just barely squeeze through. That's looking back where we came from. These rocks are just suspended in midair via the rock bolts that were installed. This is looking ahead past the collapse. That collapse backed up quite a bit of water. You can see that this part of the tunnel's not in great shape. Okay, so as you can see, this part of the tunnel is pretty badly flooded. There's a couple feet of water on the ground. Moving forward, we encounter a junction, a four-way junction. The drift continues forward. There's a crosscut to the right here with an elevated platform, or former elevated platform. And then that's back where we came from, and the left branch of this junction, which opens up into a large room. And we have more tunnels. This is the parallel drift that I was talking about earlier, actually. You can see it's driven perfectly parallel with the main drift that we were walking on earlier. So this pipe here is driven into the tunnel wall and is apparently full of Freon 113 refrigerant gas. We're not exactly sure what this equipment does, but it's related to a ICBM deep basing project that was conducted at this mine with the intention of determining the feasibility of a underground military base that is resistant to nuclear blasts. Continuing down the parallel drift, you can see those are access points to the stopes. Like I was saying earlier, there's a small collapse in the tunnel here, and then more collapse further back in the tunnel. So we're going to turn around and check out the other side of this parallel drift. Alright, so that's back at the four-way junction. Now we're heading down this parallel drift again, the other direction. You can see more Freon piping in the wall there. Here's a close-up of that with the wiring and testing equipment. Continuing onward. Again, we're in the parallel drift, not the main drift. There's another Freon tube ahead. There's a closer look at it. They're all about the same, with the same sort of testing equipment and wiring coming out of the walls.
Well, we found the site, right? Can I hold the light to me? I'll return the favor for you.
Yeah, just give me a sec.
I'm just gonna put this back in the plastic until you're ready.
Okay, so this is looking at the main haulage timber and steel set supports from the outside. You can see that arch there, and then up above is some wedged timbers. They're kind of interesting. So now we're underneath those supports, and that's looking back where we came from. And then turning around here, this is forward, so we'll continue on this way and check it out. Okay, so we finally get a view up into one of the stopes here at this mine, and this is a pretty good sized stope. That's a full collapse blocking the tunnel, some backfilled chute it looks like, and then that's back toward the main haulage that way. So we'll get back in the main timbered haulage tunnel and continue deeper into the mine. This part of the tunnel is quite large. You'll see in a second a person for scale. Yes, the tunnel's at least 12 feet tall. So we've arrived at a junction. It's looking forward down the main tunnel. There's a little cutout area to the left there, it doesn't go anywhere. And then to the right, there's rails. Some small collapses in the ground there. You can see the rails are really sticking up above the ground here in this tunnel. It's like a elevated bridge, sort of. Fortunately, this tunnel just ends after about 100 feet. So we'll get back on the main haulage here and continue onward. This part of the haulage tunnel is really interesting because they were only using timber as support. The arches they have here are really quite large. They're pretty neat. It's one of my favorite parts of the mine. After continuing down the tunnel a ways, we found another access point to the parallel tunnel to our left. These parallel tunnels are all in pretty bad shape because, like I said earlier, they connect directly to the stopes. So a lot of stope debris comes down and blocks the tunnels or collapses them or whatnot. This is looking up a raise. So it kind of curves out of sight there. Some more collapsed chute there to my left. And now we've connected back with one of the larger modern tunnels. And then again to my left, here's another raise going up to a giant mess of timbers. This part of the tunnel is full of dried mud. It's kind of bizarre. And turning around here, this is a look back at the drift that we came through.